Hello, my dear students of class 11. Welcome to the online class. How are you? I hope that you are fine. Dear students, I am Banik, Assistant Professor, Department of Statistics, Milestone College. Dear students, today our class number 1, Statistics second paper, topic probability. Dear students, at first I will discuss the contents of the chapter. Let's start our class. Contents of this chapter. At first we have to know the different subjects related to probability. There is some definition. We have to know about set, permutation, combination, and we have to state and prove the additive law of probability for mutually exclusive events and non-mutually exclusive events. The multiplicative law of probability for the independent and dependent events, and at last we have to discuss some mathematical problem related to the probability base. Okay, dear students, in our daily life very often we used to use the term probability or a tendency, uncertainty or chance of refers to the probable movements or to occurring an event. Every day we express our thinking using the sentence like everyone who lives must die, we can't live without breathing, it may rain today, etc. The idea of probability is expressed in the above three sentences. In the first sentence we see a must, that is a certain incidental event. Okay, every certain event is an obviously proclamation of probability. Here value the probability is 1. Okay, secondly, the probability of living without breathing is 0. Now if we consider the third sentence, we realize that there lies a probability to rain today. Here we do not know the exact probability, but the probability lies between 0 to 1. Okay, dear students, now we have to discuss some definition of the probability. Firstly, we have to know that the definition of trial. This is important. Trial. Dear students, trial means consider an experiment which, though repeated under essentially identical conditions, does not give unique result but may result in any one of the several possible outcomes. For example, a dice is tossed here. Throwing of the die is a trial. Throwing of a die in a trial. Okay, trial. Consider an experiment. Consider an experiment which, though repeated under which through repeated through repeated under essentially identical conditions does not give unique result, unique results in any one of the possible outcomes, of the several outcomes, as for example, outcomes, the experiment is known as a trial. The experiment is known as a trial. Okay, for example, throwing of a die in a trial. Throwing of a die in a trial. Okay, I hope that you have understand the definition of trial. Now I want to discuss what the definition of experiment. Dear students, an experiment is an act that can be repeated under some given conditions. Okay, so to write experiment. An experiment is an act that can be repeated under some given condition, conditions some given conditions. Okay, for example, throwing a fair coin or a fair die. Throwing a fair coin or fair die. Throwing a fair coin or a fair die. Okay, this is called experiment. Now we have to know the random experiment. Okay, random experiment is random experiment. Random experiment. A random experiment is an experiment that can be repeated any number of times under some identical condition. A random experiment a random experiment is an experiment that can be repeated any number of times under some identical condition. Under some identical condition. Conditions. Okay, as for example, tossing a fair coin or throwing a die, or the number of the road accident per day in Dhaka city. The number of road accident then in per day in Dhaka city. Day in Dhaka city. Okay. Next, sample space. Sample space is set of a value, the set or collection of all possible outcomes. Sample space. This is most important for probability. Sample space. This is the set related sample space, the set or collection of all possible outcomes, possible outcomes of a random experiment, experiment is known as sample space. Sample space. space, sample space. As for example, if we consider experiment as throwing a die, if we consider the experiment with throwing a die, then the sample spaces it is denoted by capital S, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, dear students, I hope that you have understand what do you mean by sample space, and every element is sample point. Okay, so dear students, I hope that you have understand today's topics. If you face any problem, you watch the video again and again. Dear students, if you face problem, you will discuss to my personal inbox. Dear students, thanks to all. Goodbye.